There we go. That's better. It's Gigi here, and back with more Hideous reviews. This time, we're going over some CDs from the Empire Hideous and SpySociety99. I recently did an interview with Myke Hideous. Put a link for that in the description. I just did a review of King of an Empire to the Shoes of a Misfit. Check that out as well. When I ordered that, Myke was kind enough to send me not one, not two, not three, but 4 CDs. Starting with the first of them, compilation Body of Work by Empire Hideous. Like I said, this one is a compilation of the first 3 Empire Hideous releases, the first 2 EPs, and Only Time Will Tell. Check my notes again. This collection, I would say, is early Empire Hideous, death rock at its finest. The first 2 tracks, Wild Wife and Devious Child, kind of set the tone for the rest of the collection. Other songs like Mr. Barnum and My Way Out are definitely highlights of this compilation. They're both classic early Empire Hideous tracks. Make it stuck in your head. The final third of the disc consists of Only Time Will Tell, which includes one of my personal favorites, the song To Thread a Needle. When I interviewed Myke, we talked about the 2 songs, Mr. Barnum and To Thread a Needle. Myke tells the story in that interview and in the book, wrote both of these songs the first night he came home from the hospital after receiving cancer treatments. So he was a young man and was around 20 or 21 years old, and he thought he was going to die. That song, To Thread a Needle, reflects that pretty clearly when you hear the lyrics. Mr. Barnum is another great track, very catchy. I would recommend checking those songs out. The record ends with another really great track, Parasite's Bible. It's just an earworm of a tune. Definitely worth checking out. I'm doing these reviews in the order in which that I chose to listen to them. Second one we're reviewing is the most recent and final Empire Hideous record, The Time Has Come. This is the one that was originally supposed to be produced by Peter Steele of Typo Negative. He'd begun doing pre-production on this record. Myke had sent him, notes and all the songs, and unfortunately, he, of course, passed away. Myke was telling me in our interview, Peter Steele was actually working on this record when he died, or at least when he had the initial complications that unfortunately led to his untimely death. The album is dedicated in his memory. I believe it says it in here somewhere. Yes, dedicated to Peter. There's some really great tracks on here. The first track, Dance Dead Rhythms, will definitely get stuck in your head. Pretty Faces and Standoff are both standout tracks in my opinion. There's also a hidden track on here, a cover of The Cars Moving in Stereo that was done as a tribute to Peter. That was one of his favorite songs. They do a great fucking job with it. Produced by Johnny Nickel. I believe the Empire Hideous at this time is just Myke Hideous and Johnny Nickel. A really interesting record, definitely worth checking out. Again, The Time Has Come. On to the third disc, Remixes Through Time. This was an interesting one. Check this out. This was the third one I listened to, released in 2013. I would say most notable on here is the remix of 2 Minutes to Midnight, a dance remix done by, of course, Johnny Nickel. It was used for the end credits in the Living the American Nightmare documentary. A lot of these remixes are listed as a Living the American Nightmare remix. There is a bonus track, a live version of Parasite's Bible, which I mentioned on the first disc that we reviewed, which is a great track. It's really cool to hear a live version of it with the energy of a live show. Other ones that are worth checking out, Pretty Faces, again, mentioned that song in the other review from the other disc. But the remix on here is also worth checking out. It's just overall a really cool, different collection of songs. If you're into electronic music, if you're into dance, or even forgive me saying some of the songs have a bit of a techno vibe to it in spots, you definitely will get something out of this. It's worth checking out. The last one that we're gonna review today, I think this is probably my favorite of the four. SpySociety99, Die Punk Die. Released in, I believe, 2013 or 2014. I believe it wasn't released prior to that, not officially anyway. Really interesting. This is, kind of up my alley as far as the punk rock side of things. I kind of shudder to call this punk rock because, as Myke mentioned, it's not really punk rock per se because the musicianship on this record is top-notch. These were the songs that Myke wrote, a couple of them during his time with the Misfits, specifically Killing You started originally as a Misfits track, or was going to be a Misfits track. Myke wrote the lyrics while he was in the band. The opening track, Walking with Lycanthropy, is a very long song. I believe it clocks in over 7 minutes, but it's very funny. It's kind of an interesting waltz of a song. I mentioned Killing You, which is another great track. Rise of the Insects is another standout track, one I found myself humming over and over again. Another interesting track on this record is a kind of lounge-inspired version of Horror Business by the Misfits, titled Horror Biz. It's another one that we talked about in my interview with Myke. Again, I'll put a link in the description for that. But it's a funny, interesting take on a classic Misfits tune. And a little piece of trivia, apparently this was Glenn Danzig's favorite cover of a Misfits song. So there's that. Bonus tracks on here. There are 3 bonus tracks at the end. It's a bonus EP, Die Punk Die Now. Final track, number 14, Nostalgia. I like it a whole lot. The line, the world is full of bad people and I know them all, that stuck with me. And this record kind of stuck with me. It's a really interesting listen. It's one of my favorite records that I've listened to in the last probably 5 or 10 years. Again, all these available at MykeHideous.com. Make sure you check that out. To quickly recap here, quick rundown and rating out of 1 to 10 on all 4 of these. Body of work, very interesting. Good place to start if you've never heard any Empire Hideous songs before. I would definitely give it 8 out of 10. Very solid collection. The time has come. The final studio album from Empire Hideous. This is a really solid effort. I really liked it. Production's kind of raw. I would give it a 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. Really solid effort. Remixes Through Time. This one was very interesting. I kind of liked this a lot more than I expected to. And it's kind of different from the rest of the catalog. So definitely worth checking out. I would give this 7.5 out of 10. The final record, Die Punk Die from SpySociety99. This was my favorite one. I thought this was just a great record to listen to. I'd highly recommend it for fans of punk music, goth music, just straight rock and roll. This one is a solid 10 out of 10 for me. So I'd highly recommend all of these records, but this one is my my top choice. So that is it for the Hideous reviews. Thanks so much to Myke Hideous for sending me these. I thoroughly enjoyed all of them. One of my favorite artists, definitely a favorite musician, so check it out, support him and what he does, and definitely if you liked any of this, like and subscribe, all that good shit. Trying, of course, to get to 1,000 subscribers eventually. Hey, I can dream. Anyway, thanks so much and take care.